Hi, this is Holly Boisvert. I am running for a seat on the school board here at Victor, and I am going to attempt to answer your questions the best I can in this type of format. I am not very savvy with videoing myself, and I'm going to give it a go. So I had to find a spot where I could sit uninterrupted and not have my kids calling for me in the background and having to stop and start and stop and start. And I got to thinking, okay, where can I go that is a place that I find of peace and calming on this beautiful day. It's Friday, so we made it to the weekend. And I chose to come to Mary Frances Bluebird Haven, one of our parks here in Victor. It's what I call one of my happy places. I came here the last time with my father and my two daughters a couple summers ago. My dad was very sick with terminal cancer, and I wanted to take him and the girls to a place where I could always come back, knowing that was one of our last times we spent together, and have that be my place of peace and calm. So here I am. And let me start by just sharing a little bit about who I am. I have lived in Victor for 37 years. My parents built a home here when I was 3 years old, and they've lived here ever since. The house that I grew up in is still where my family lives, and I've lived here basically my entire life for a reason. I graduated from Victor schools and went off to college about a few hours from here, and spent a year away and realized I didn't want to be away. So I came back and continued my education locally. I graduated from St. John Fisher with a degree in childhood and special education. And I went on to continue to get my master's degree in education with a concentration in elementary reading and math. I actually started and finished my master's program while I had a newborn. So my oldest daughter, who's in 5th grade, she was only a few months old when I took that on, and it was kind of nuts, but I made it through, and I'm happy to have done it. My educational experience started when I was a junior up at the high school at Victor. We had to do a shadowing program in an area that we knew was of interest to us later in life in terms of careers, or a career path rather. And I shadowed my 2nd grade teacher, which I thought was pretty cool. And my educational experience at Victor continued when I student taught under Mrs. Hill at the intermediate school. At the time, she was a 6th grade teacher, so I got to work with her and the team. From there, I continued to substitute teach in and out of the different buildings. Never in the junior high and the high school, but from the VEX to the primary to the intermediate. And I then was able to find a full-time teaching job in West Irondequoit, teaching 3rd grade, which was a really neat experience. It was a great age group to work with my first year. So much to learn on my end, and I was happy to be involved with that district. I then segued over to Manchester Shortsville, where I was a 1st grade teacher, and I spent a couple of years teaching there. And I, again, loved that age group, just teaching them, how to read and write and just acclimate more to routines in a classroom setting, and just helping them on their educational journey, really. And then I was pregnant with our first daughter, Isla, who is our 5th grader. And Rick is my husband, we decided that it would be best for me to stay home and raise our daughter. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, and I know the benefits to that, and I feel very lucky that I was afforded that opportunity in our home. And I have been home ever since, with different projects and whatnot along the way. In addition to our 5th grader, I have Addie, who is a 2nd grader at Victor. Both our girls are in the multi-age program. They didn't start out in the program. They were in a traditional setting and got in. Isla is a 3rd grader and Addie is a 1st grader. So we know both sides of the coin, and we've had a great experience thus far, and I hope for that to continue. And I'll get to that being one of the reasons I'm running to be on the board in a moment. So since being home with the girls and to date, I have worked as a teacher's aide in the intermediate building as a 1-to-1, more 1-to-2 actually, in a 5th grade setting under Mr. Warner and Mrs. Sheridan, who are both amazing educators. So I know that side of the job as well. I did that for almost a full year and had some personal things arise, so I decided to continue my journey at home. But outside of the home, there is a lot that I do. I'm very involved in both the girls' education. I am a member of the PTSA. I once was a building rep at the VEX. This year I started as a parent rep for the building council committee at the primary, and I volunteered at book fairs and in other capacities along the way, and I'm happy to have been able to support my kids in that fashion as well. I guess I sit here today because I have asked myself, what more do I want to do? What more can I do? And I've always tossed around the idea of wanting to sit on the board. I am very invested in this community since I've lived here essentially my whole life. In my involvement up at school is very important to our family and to me, and I wanted to do that on a larger scale. So I decided to run for the board. And I'm happy to be doing that alongside 8 others. I'm hoping that this video, along with any other way that you get to know me, or talking to neighbors or community members that may know me, gives you a little glimpse into who I am and what sets me apart. I don't participate in social media. I never have, and I don't ever plan on it. So there is no way for you to follow me in that way to get to know me a little bit more. So I thank the parent groups that gave us this opportunity to do so. I know typically we would be in an auditorium with more of a Q&A with a live audience, but I guess we'll take it, right? So let's start with some of the questions that were forwarded to us. I just want to preface my answers with, I'm running on the idea that people really get to know who Holly is. I'm very real. I'm very honest. Honest to a fault sometimes, but with the best intentions at heart. I like to keep it real. I feel like we're all in this together. I know that's sort of a cliche saying right now, but I have always felt like that. Everybody is living the same life, obviously with a lot of differences within the walls of our home, but I think the bigger picture for all of us is the same. And I feel like I can relate to almost anybody, and I want people to feel like they can relate to me. I advocate for people, and I advocate for myself and my family and my friends and my community and people who can't advocate for themselves. I do that because you have to have a voice. You have to use your voice. We raise our kids to have a voice, but use it in a respectful way, and for positivity. And I am that person. I will stand up for what's right, even if I'm the only person in the room who thinks the way they think and goes against the grain. And I feel like that's what we need on the board. We need somebody who's real. We need somebody who's transparent and who's just going to tell you how it is, with the idea that figuring out what it is comes from working together. The only way I know what it is by having those conversations with the people who make up this community. So that's our teachers, our teacher aides, our administrators, our district office personnel, our students, and people in the community whose kids maybe have graduated out of district, who still want to see that the district maintains who it is and what it represents and what it means to be Victor. So I am so easy to work with. I come with an open ear and an open mind, and I want to hear what you think, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And I want to work on your behalf to make sure that we have Victor looking on the